Here's my thing. Fabio should sound like that beat, the way that beat is built. It sounded like almost Hit Boy made a beat for Fabio and he just kind of, did some random bullshit on it. And I was just like, okay, cool. Hit Boy's making this shit for me. We're going to take this and make this into a Nas song. And Nas went in there and actually did good, like much better than Fabio did. Fabio's verse is trash. Like,
but would you expect Nas to actually come down to Fabio's level or even A$AP Ferg's level of rapping?
I'm not expecting. I'm expecting. All right, I know Fabio's not the best rapper ever, but he should sound better than that on that type of beat.
Yeah. But do you think? So do you? Let's be honest, yo. Like the dude's like he's an older guy, right? He's older than us, right?
Okay.
This is the only, and when you look at if apparently like they showed like some stuff from like some of his old music, it's all the same relevancy, right? Okay. I don't look at him and be like, yo, he got to kill this. Like it'd be like saying like,
that,
okay,
though.
Like it'd be like saying, okay, we know Chief Keef just came out with a new song, right? If you put Chief Keef on a song with Kendrick Lamar and let's say Schoolboy Q, I don't think that song is going to come out at like, I don't see me saying, yo, this is like Chief Keef just gave us like one of his best verses. I'll be honest with you. I think his verse ain't going to sound that great.
So look, right, that's a good example because Chief Keef has been on songs with people who are like credible artists and not sounded terrible. Terrible. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying.
What was your reception of his music at that time?
Ask loud. Like I've never been a big fan of Chief Keef ever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like for me, I'm not expecting a lot from him. No, like it's just the way it is. I don't really expect a lot from him, but he did enough to say that I don't hate his verse. I hate that verse. That verse is not good at all. I listen to it and I laugh because it's so bad.
Listen, it's not a great verse, but
it's like bad. It's bad.
It's not a great verse, but I also know like, yo, it's who he is. Like
bad.
Like he's not the artist that I think. I don't look at him and think of like this top billing artist.
Trash.
Like, nah. Like, I mean, to me, he's not. I put it like this. He just make lit music. That's it. He just try to make lit music. That's it. That's all it is. If you want to say lit is club music, so on and so forth. I'm quite sure people that were like older when Crime Mob came out said Crime Mob is trash. Like I'm quite sure that's the case.
I'm quite sure that's the case.
How can you not?
Because
that'd be like putting someone like Lil Scrappy on a song with Jay-Z and Nas at that time, right? You do not expect, and Lil Scrappy, I think he can rap, right? But you don't expect the level of artistry to come from him that you expect from a Nas or a Jay-Z. And the same goes for Favi. I don't listen to Fabio thinking, yo, Favi about to kill this. Fabio's about to kill. He on the song with Nas and A$AP Ferg. I know what he about to do. No,
that's fine. That's fine. I don't expect him to kill it. I just don't expect him to sound like trash. As far as like people making lit music and like not expecting a lot from them, there's a thing to be said about that. But not everybody who makes lit music will make trash fucking verses. You know what I mean? Pop Smoke made similar music. And he actually was a decent artist and would get on songs and actually do well. If I heard him on that song, I would expect him to at least do enough to be like, okay, that was cool. I like that verse is really bad. That verse is really bad. It's a bad verse. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Like it's one thing to not have high expectations for somebody and they succeed in not meeting your high expectations. It's another thing when you put out something that's really bad.
So, like, when you listen to his music, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between what you heard from Fabio on this song with Nas and the songs that he has out? Like, in terms of artistry, do you think the lyrical ability, I guess we would be using in this, and for lack of better terms, is superior in comparison to what he put out in his other music?
No, it's not even that though, because I listened to one of his projects before, and I'm not expecting some like lyrical, spiritual, like blow me out of the water.
I know that. I'm saying I'm comparing what you've heard of his that he's put out and created in comparison to the verse that you heard. Is there a substantial difference in between the two verses? Not hooks, that most of these artists be trying to use. Not the when you strip away the dancing and you just listen to the song, not the video.
Here's what I'll say in comparison to what I've heard in the past from him. Like with the one project he has out that he put out recently, and the verse that he had on Drake's album, at least he sounded like he was trying.
Who's to say he's not trying on that? It's just you're just matching
like it to me.
Does he not sound like he's trying because he's matched up against some people that are just that much more superior than him at rapping?
No, like he doesn't sound like he's trying because he sounds bad. He says like a few. He says, I mean, honestly, his verse isn't even that long. He's like da 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 yeah da 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 yeah da 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 da
Sound like any other song.
Like that's like the verse word.
He's like
that sounds like his whole. That sounds like anything.
Crip, drip.
Yeah,
Favi. Hey. That's Fabio for right.
But listen to his like recent project and tell me
but that's
like
how he sounds on all his music.
Nah, yeah, he sounds better on every other song that I've heard from him than that verse. You can't tell me he doesn't, yo.
He sounds the same for the most part to me. I think the only difference is he just put up against some people that actually can rap. That's it.
We might have to agree to disagree. Got a lot.
Well, here's my take on it, right? I think he was actually trying, right? I don't think that he wasn't trying. I think he was actually trying. What you heard was the best that you'll ever hear from him because he'll go back to his bullet point style rapping. But with that being said, I think the verse is still a bad verse. You know, I think that he tried his best. He was, he wrote that verse out. He thought like this is going to be the hardest verse I ever wrote. I'm with one of the GOATs. I'm with Ferg. This is the best shit ever. You know, and he did try. He tried with all his might, you know, and just the verse just still turned out bad because he's just not a good fucking rapper.
Here's my thing, right? Like Chief Keef, like isn't the best rapper ever, right? But you know, he's put out good music here and there. Listen to Tony Hawk and tell me if that song is a good song. You know what I mean? Tell me if you think like, you know what I mean? Like there's something to be said about putting out some, you know, hype shit, and then there's something to be said about having like a bad song. And every artist has a bad song or a bad verse. So, you know, nobody's exempt. But that was just really bad for him. That's all I'm saying. It was just really bad. I didn't enjoy it at all.
I agree with you. It's not the greatest verse. Like, I'll be honest, Fabio is not someone I'm playing. Like, and it's not a knock at what he does. It's just not my style of music, right? It's not my cup of tea. And I go with what Lau said. He probably was trying his best, but you got to realize you could try your best at no matter what you do. But if you're putting up against, if your opponent is someone that's just can outclass you, and Fabio know that just like anybody else in that studio knew that. They just know that's what he's going to do. Like, he's going to do his best, but he just understands, hey, I can't do as well as other people on this. And that's why I think most people listening to it is just like, you don't like his verse, but you don't like his verse partially because it's not that great. Because he steps into just like the rest of his music. His music, all his music sounds the same. When I've listened to that verse a couple of times, I don't hear anything different than anything else he does. That's my biggest thing about it. Like,
right.
The music is bad. We all agree there. It's not that great. But to me, the music is not that great, but it just doesn't sound that great because it's pinned between Nas and A$AP Ferg.
My expectations weren't high. His verse is bad. And that's really it.
Listen, verse is bad, but it don't sound like anything that's different than what I've heard before.
All right.
And listen, the rest of his music, it goes up. It's just, listen, man, I put it like this. I don't see Fabio, and granted, I could be wrong. Maybe years down the line, Fabio could be like, you know what? I heard the boys at the Highly Advised podcast said my verse wasn't good. And I heard it, and I knew I had to step my bars up. And when I stepped my bars up, I came back. I told Nas, I told Ferg, hey, let's do something on my album. And I smoked them just because Nas said it was bad. You never know. That could happen.
I might inspire. You never know. Hey, Flocka knew he was a bad rapper.
Yeah. But you know something? Flocka knew he was bad. He was bad. He did step it up. But even when he was bad, he made a bunch of music that we love to listen to.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's true. I can't say the same for Fivey.
Yeah, yo, he could just be like the Waka Flocka of this era. That's all. And in the regards to the lack of lyrical ability, let's put it like that. Because I will not match it up to the Hall of Fame streak Waka Flocka had when he had a run. Waka Flocka had a run. So I'll put it like I definitely can agree there. But at the same time, Waka Flocka knew, yo, I just started rapping because Gucci went to jail. Fabio was like, yo, listen, I'm just putting out the music that I know that pops. Will he be around for long? Who knows? Oh, man. I mean, well, I guess people probably been listening now, probably thinking what we've been talking about. Well, y'all probably know. But, yeah, let's start the show. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You checking in right now. This is the Highly Advised Podcast. You checking in with me, Spence, Loud, and Nigel. This is episode 24. Fellas, say what's up.
Yo, 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 it's your boy Big Cozy, Too Cozy, a.k.a. Loud, a.k.a. The Bad Guy, a.k.a. Don Pablo El Chapo. Let's go. Let's get it. How's everybody doing?
What's going on, y'all? This is Nigel, Relaxing Jackson.
How do you have a build-up like that? And it's just like, yo, so how's everybody doing?
This is Nigel. We're here to bring y'all another good show. This is episode 24. Episode 24, we're keeping up the streak. It's all going, kind of feeling like the Undertaker, you know what I mean? Keeping the streak alive, feel me?
Bente Quattro. I hope I said that correctly.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, you did. Vente Quattro. Yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, well, everybody knows we've been probably talking for a minute based off this little pre-production, but what's been going on with you guys this week? The week ended on a more somber note, unfortunately. But how you guys been doing for the whole week?
I can't complain. It was a solid week. No complaints at all. Everybody healthfully, hopefully, and everything's good from my end. Nothing too dramatic, too drastic, or nothing bad.
Same here, man. Go ahead.
You know, I'm here. I'm stressed, but I'm striving. You know what I mean? Like, you know, things are a little. It's been a roller coaster of a year. You know what I mean? But I'm here with y'all, talking with my friends, and you know, talking about different verses. Not trying to shit on people, but you know, expressing my feelings about the music.
Shit on people.
Oh, a little bit, but not overly.
His verse is not good. It's a bad song. He's trash. That's all we were getting from you prior to pressing record. So. Had veins popping out your head and everything.
Nah, whoa. I'm not like the dude we're about to talk about. Later. We're saving that one.
Later, yeah. I actually been watching like a bunch of interviews actually, and I saw an interview with Akon where he was talking about building like his own city on Vlad, right? And it was like one of the dopest things seeing, and it was a little sad only because he had the inspiration prior to Black Panther, but once Black Panther came, he really modeled a lot of what he wanted for the city to be based off what Wakanda is, right? Because of like the representation it had. And it was kind of sad. It was a great interview because I actually watched this like probably Friday morning. And later that night, I ended up falling asleep early, woke up at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I get the bad news that Chadwick had died, right? And I think it was like 43 years old or something like that from colon cancer. Like, I saw that shit, man, and I was just like, yo, this is beyond depressing. And only beyond depressing just because of, I think most people no one knew, apparently. According to Spike Lee, no one knew what he was dealing with throughout his duration of his whole career. Granted, this was something that happened, I think, 4 or 6 years ago. He's been diagnosed, surgeries, and so on and so forth. No one ever knew. So it was a sad situation seeing how someone's building a city and they're basing it off of a city that a fictional character created. Like, there's a lot of power in that, for one, right? And just seeing, like, what Chadwick's done over his career and saying, like, yo, fam, for someone to be that impactful, because like, I'm not sure if y'all know, but, like, a lot of the characters that he's done are like a lot of inspirational characters, from Jackie Robinson to Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and even like the Black Panther. Like, all of these characters hold some prominence within our history. Even the fictional character of a Marvel character such as Black Panther, just because it broke boundaries in terms of what we can do outside of just outside of just what they've always put actors of other culture of minorities in a box of saying like, hey, you only can reach a certain demographic. Something Kevin Hart's touched on, and so on and so forth. Like Black Panther blew all of that shit out the water.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of like the biggest Marvel films of all times. If it's not, it will be definitely after his passing. So
me and Lisa are chilling, and then her niece FaceTimes her saying like, "Hey, Chadwick Boseman just died," and we both was like, "What?" So we look it up. Stage 3 colon cancer. The guy was hiding it all these years while he was, doing his thing that people love to watch him do. And it was crazy. I was like, man, he really went out. He went out really strong. He didn't make any excuses or nothing. I respect him a whole lot more for that because it kind of came out of nowhere that he had cancer and he just passed away. And and to me, he fought till the very end. And it sucks because there was a photo going around a couple months ago. My timeline could be off, where he looked a lot slimmer. And I remember seeing that photo, and my initial thought was like, oh, maybe he's losing weight, or maybe it's like for a movie role or something. I didn't think anything of it, and I moved on. Damn. But apparently there was people that was like bullying, or not bullying, but like kind of clown him about his weight loss or whatever like that. And I thought that's messed up because I'm like, little did anybody know the guy was dying, He was literally dying. And it is super sad, man. It's super sad that he gave us all these historic characters in these movies that he played. And it sucks that even though that he was still doing these movies for us, for our entertainment, the guy was dying doing what he had talent and what he was passionate about. And I feel like he deserves more than just his flowers. The guy got to be, we got to treat him like what he is, a legend. And nothing bad. He was one of those actors that never had any controversy outside of the movies and nothing like that. The guy kept to his business. He did his movies. He did some activism with other activists and stuff like that, but nothing bad with him at all. And I think with him passing away, it's a real hit. I think LeBron was like, we lost Black Mamba and Black Panther in the same year. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is crazy, and it's just like, definitely rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. And I saw 42. I thought 42 was a good movie. Of course, we all see one of the highest grossing movies of all time in Black Panther. And you're right, Spence, Black Panther broke the barrier saying like, hey, us black folk, not even just black folk, but like, hey, us minorities, we could definitely be more than the typical hood movies or drama movies and shit like that.
And then on top of it, just be able to be in those other markets that they don't typically promote for us so often. So
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, I've been watching a lot of videos about kind of just the person he was like in life outside of like his acting roles and whatnot, and seeing as to how he was going to visit like children who were dying of cancer, all this time while he was dying of cancer. And, apparently, I guess, Denzel Washington had paid for his tuition in order to get into acting school. And, he had no idea who he was. But I mean, like, he was essentially saying, hey, like, I wouldn't be here without Denzel Washington. Like, he seemed like a stand-up guy. And it just like one of those things where it's like, when I see him and I see the way people are talking about him, like, I think it's great because Black Panther was a moment, you know what I mean? Especially for the Black community, it was a moment, you know what I mean? With the soundtrack and all the other things that happened around it. Like, it was a pretty big deal. And, I think it's, if you were alive or around for that, that time period, you just understand the impact that movie had. But the thing is that, like, I think we also have to realize that at the end of the day, this guy was battling cancer and was in multiple movies and did not say anything to anybody, probably outside of his group of people. and he did all these things and he visited all these people and didn't complain publicly about it one time. And like, there's a lot to be said about that. Like, there's a lot to be said about that type of person. Like, I know that, you know, we've all seen people battle cancer and just like see the toll that can take on a person. And it's like, you didn't say anything once. Like, you got to commend him. And I think we have to look outside of him being a Black Panther and really look at him being Chadwick Boseman, because like at the end of the day, the things that says about the character of a man are phenomenal. And like, you can't really take that away from him. Like, it's like, I understand why people are so hurt, because it's just the things that can say about a person, the things that you do, and you don't say a word about it, even though like you're struggling with like something that is literally killing your body. And, you know, you're here for all these people, and you're still, you know, handling your contracts and your obligations and whatnot. You know, you got to applaud them.
Yeah, it's true.
Legend.
It's a legend within himself. Like, only thing and I agree with everything that both of you guys have said. Like, I think the one thing I think of the most is the conversation me and my mother would have, right? Because he makes a lot of movies he makes a lot of movies with a lot of positive, prominent Black figures within our history, right? Or with some of them, right? And me and my mother were talking. We're like, yeah, you know, like, and I remember following his career as he was going from being James Brown to the Jackie Robinson movie and everything. And it was like, oh, this is like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's building a name for himself quick and fast. Like, when you look at, even outside of like his TV career, right? His filming career within itself, you look and you're saying he did all of this within 6 years, about 6 or 7 years, right? Probably 2013, 2012, I think is when his movie career started. So he's done almost pretty much, he's done what, 4 prominent Black figures. He's created 4 Black prominent figure movies that are about 4 prominent Black figures, one being a fictional character, of course. But nonetheless, it's like, it shows you that if you choose not to complain about the things that are going on in your life, and granted, I think we all have to find ways of venting and making sure we're like mentally healthy and physically healthy, right? But if you're able to say, yo, let me take what I'm going through and leave it at the door and just be focused on this, it's not necessarily saying that, it'll be easy, but you'll be fighting in the right direction, right? Instead of worrying about on the woe is me mentality, or what one gentleman said to me once, of just not being part of the 80 or 85% of people that choose to be a victim in life, right? And this isn't a racial thing or anything like that, but just due to circumstances, like pulling yourself out of whatever your circumstances as best as you can, right? You have people that are like that, but then you have people that do complain, and then you have the people that choose not to. And you see, just looking at his body of work and his catalog, you say to yourself, it's what most actors try to strive for within a career, he's done in 6 or 7 years, which is just something that we've never seen. It's something rare. And then he gave us everything he needed to, and then God called him and took him away. It's sad. My prayers go to his family, his friends, his loved ones, his fans, everybody in the culture and community that have been affected by it, because I think though he's an actor, I think it's a lot of what he represented for us as a culture and people, just in terms of like his relentlessness, definitely after hearing how he passed and recognizing, hey, this guy knows how to try to maximize it. He tried to maximize his success no matter the circumstances while still giving back. Like you said, talking to kids that had terminal cancer and so on and so forth. So it's a sad situation, but I think it's a lesson for all of us to learn in it, right? And I see it a lot with like, you see different things in the media. And I think as time is changing now, we're starting to see a space where people are more conscious of things being B.O.B., right? And for those who don't know, it's Black-owned business, right? Like having like a B.O.B., you recognize like, hey, sometimes I need to, instead of complaining about the circumstances, I'm going to take the leap of faith on myself and try to strive for whatever I'm looking for. And I think in the recent week with everything going on, reflecting on Chadwick Boseman, and just going through the ordinary week of my life, I think I see a lot of that, especially with this fight that Joe Budden's having right now, right? With his podcast from the Spotify thing, and then he followed up in the episode following that. It was more about like people that have something to say. It shows you like, okay, Joe. Long story short, that podcast has chosen to leave Spotify, and they've chosen to actually take their talents elsewhere to be announced. But at the same time, they've noticed, hey, we're making so much money for you guys that we rather go make this money for ourselves, and willing to die on that cross. And instead of complaining about, the unfair treatment or what you don't like about that space, they've chosen to say, hey, we're just going to go and do something else somewhere else.
So it's an interesting situation because it's one of those things where, I listen to both I don't want to say rants or tangents, but essentially what they had to say about the situation between them and Spotify. And it's interesting because, the Joe Budden podcast is not, a thing without Joe Budden. So it's like, it seems like they undervalue him, if anything else, because like, he's talking about, hey, like I'm sitting here, I'm producing this. This is all me. Like it runs through me. And the only thing, the people who are getting paid the most aren't me. That doesn't make much sense. How can you come in here essentially take and try to add and try to change everything that I'm working on and then still pay me the least when it's my thing that people are coming for? It's not the extra ads that you're trying to put in here. It's not, all the other stuff and whatnot. And then on top of that, the negotiations just seem kind of iffy for quite a period of time, especially the thing with the watches. When I heard that, I was just kind of like, all right, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's the gimmick that they use in rap music.
Well, what?
Hey, you guys aren't used to this. Matter of fact, let's go buy your car a new house, not knowing it's coming from your own money.
But look though, right? Like it's one of those things where it's like, don't tell me you're going to get me a watch. And it's like, oh, okay, I pick out a watch. And it's like, hey, not that watch, a used watch. It's like, okay, cool. Hey, not that used watch. How about this other thing? You know what I mean?
Don't offer me a watch. Don't offer me a watch. That's it. That's really it. Don't offer me a watch when it's all said and done, yo. Because to me, the thing is, and sorry to cut you off. The thing is, to me, is like when you offer me a watch, you're to me that's like spitting in my face, right?
Right.
You know what we here for. If I don't need, I've been carrying you guys on my back, pretty much. You guys have created multiple shows that haven't succeeded more than what mine has. They may generate more income if you have 6 or 7. To Charlamagne's point, if you have 6 or 7 shows in the top 10 or top 20, yeah, they might help generate more income, but that income is really the foundation of it is on me. If I'm making you $100 million, don't tell me, oh, listen, $200,000 is your budget for a watch. This is our thank you. No, cut the check or give me some options. That's it.
I don't have Spotify, so I have to wait till the shit comes out on YouTube to really catch anything. So the latest thing that I caught was him talking about where he was basically comparing the situation to like a strip club or strippers. So that's the latest that I got from it. So I have to wait till whatever new stuff he puts out on YouTube. But just my take on it, I from what I've heard so far on my end, I agree with Joe 100%. And I think that these companies and labels, right, they always try to take advantage of the artist, right? Because if you're in the podcast game, you're in a sense you're an artist, entertainer, whatever you want to be. You categorize.
You're an artist.
Yeah, and I feel like that they've been taking advantage of people like that for a long time. So Joe, he comes from a very vile and corrupt rap industry game. So he already knows the games that's been played. So I feel like he has every right to be like, no, I'm not standing for this shit. And he has also every right to explore his options once his contract is up. I feel like other places are going to value him a lot more than what Spotify is. Now, Spotify could turn the tables and offer him something gigantic, but at this point, I don't know if Joe would even if Joe should even take it, because if it had to get to the point where he's like, publicly expressing his disconcern with the company, it's like, why are you going to come back now to offer me something greater? Just because I'm in a sense exposing or really saying like what you guys are doing to me.
It's not impossible for there to be a deal made that could work, right?
Right.
But I think a lot of it has to be. I think a deal wouldn't work because of, like you said, like this is all based off everything that's happened now, based off the storm that's been put out there. This is what's happening, and on top of it, if you can't go, if we make a deal and in the contract it says, hey, I get a bonus of whatever X amount if I hit these numbers, and I meet that incentive, you don't turn around and say, oh, well, we'll give you some watches. Or, oh, all right, cool. We'll give you the time that you need. We'll give you the money that you want, and instead of the bonus, you say, oh, well, let's give it to the fans for Christmas. Nah, we'll just keep the money then. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, nah, you can't do that. Like, and it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, look, like if we're making you this money, it's like I got a food place. You know what I mean?
Right.
And me and you have talked about it. Like, I'm the chef. The people are coming here for my food. It's like, all right, cool. Like, at some point in time, like, you're going to want to be compensated for this great food that you're making, or it's like you can take your business elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, they're coming here for my food. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm giving you, I'm paying you X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, but they're coming here for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
your big ZD wouldn't be shit without me, because I'm the one who knows how to mix it all right. I know how to do it. So it's like, you either need to fix it, or I can damn near sell the big ZD by myself.
Yeah, but see, that's where what happens with that is, I think then it becomes a conversation of like, hey, and you have the right to feel that way when it's like, yo, you're opening up several restaurants because of me.
Yeah.
And because of the way I make the food here, it's giving you all leeway to create to make other restaurants to allow you to grow. So I understand that from that standpoint, but from a capitalist standpoint, I understand how it works. Like, I paid you for your services now, and typically he wasn't trying to be gaffled by the typical way that incentives and increases in pays work, right? Where, hey, let's base it off what you did the past 2 years. Okay, we could do that, but if we really want to be honest, what is the value? He's basing off what is the value that I've given you guys, and what is the value that I need moving forward at the end of the day. And that is where that's the conversation really becomes, where it's like, yo, you can't sit here and look me in the face and say, yo, you guys should do this and that, and oh, we want control over everything. And then you say, oh, well, then you try to beat the tabloids by saying, yo, we gave him everything that he needed. We gave him more money, but you want to exclude the fact you gave me more money for everything that I do, which is essentially a 360 deal in hip hop. Which, if for people listening, if you're not familiar, a 360 deal is I sign to a label, and once I sign to that label, any way I make income becomes part of the income of the label. No matter if they put participation in or not, no matter if it's merch, acting, commercials, whatever way I create income because I'm an artist, they get a piece of it. So that's the same as a 360 deal, which hell no, I wouldn't do that. Definitely, if you guys are paying, this is the place that I make the most impact. My impact is felt the most because of this platform, but I'm getting paid the least out of anything else I do here. So it's like, I understand that. And then having I side with Joe Budden when it comes to his talks on Charlemagne and Gilly the Kid, because I had to go back and listen to them. And I heard like the stuff, well, Charlemagne more of, and his whole thing was, maybe you just have a problem. Maybe if every job you go to, you have an issue, maybe you're the problem. Which in reality, it could just mean maybe you got people like that in history where maybe they're not supposed to work for somebody else. Maybe you have people that get fired and can't keep a job, but somehow they can keep a business for themselves for 20 years.
To blame it solely on Joe Budden and essentially saying like, hey, like, I think you know your value, but you don't know how to necessarily communicate that.
Negotiate.
Yeah, negotiate. It's like, well, if you're not working with some scumbag people, then that really shouldn't be too much of an issue because they'll see your talent and want to work with you because you're talented, because you're the artist. You know what I mean? Because you're the one who are making the content we're putting out, and we recognize your value, and we can find a way to communicate with you. Communication is a two-way street. You know what I mean? So you can't just blame that on one person. You can't blame that simply on Joe Budden. That's not the way the shit works.
Right. I mean, but you also have to realize like, yo, even if I'm not going to blame it, I can't blame it on one person in particular. But I also know, hey, sometimes the reality is, and I hate saying it this way, if you work for somebody else, you're not going to get paid your worth. That's
No.
just that's the end all be all, and it doesn't matter how much money you make. And I say that because, with no offense to anybody, but the reality is, if like Master P said, right, if these people are willing to give me $1 million to sign on now, how much money do you think I'm really worth? Because someone's willing to give me $1 million to put out something for them on with them having their name attached to it, how much money do you think they're going to generate? Yeah. And if they're able to generate $100 million off that $1 million, did I win or did I lose? Even if I can't generate the $100 million that they're generating, right? If I'm able to say, well, with what resources that I have, I can get us to $50 million. I'd rather make the $50 million having all the control that I need in comparison to owning 100, but knowing, hey, I can't control things how I want to. I can't be as creative as I need to. I get silenced. Like, I'm stifled within this company. And all of that stuff plays a factor into the person. And and I still have to be that person that you signed years ago that can create this content still. So, like, I understand it. Like, I totally agree with them. And I'm not going to necessarily say they're scumbags, but it's business at the end of the day. You look at the McDonald brothers. They signed a royalty on a handshake. They didn't even sign anything. They did a handshake for a royalty, which I think they put at today would be valued at like $3 billion or something like that they never got any money from. But who's to blame for that? Ray Frost. Like, I'll tell you this, anybody listening to this, watch The Founder. I want to know what your opinion is, because depending on what your opinion is of The Founder, you see, it depends on how you see things. Because someone says Ray Frost is wrong, some say the McDonald brothers are wrong.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, at the end of the day, like, they don't necessarily have to be scumbag people, but it's like, you want to work with people who know your worth and who are willing to at least make you like a commendable deal. You know what I mean? Like,
but what is a commendable deal though?
Well, hold on, wait. That's what I'm about to say. Like, at the end of the day, like, you got a point. Like, you're not going to get the money you're worth because nobody's going to hire you and pay you the money that you make for them. At the end of the day, you won't. Yeah. The only way you get happen. Yeah, the only way you're going to get that is they have to make more money off of you to make it worth it to them to hire you in the first place. You know what I mean? If you keep the lights on, then it's like that money's going towards the lights. It's not going towards you. You know what I mean? That's just the way it works.
Right. But see, that's the funny thing. Like, and I think that's where it's like it gets tricky because, like, yeah, even if I'm spending. That's where I think the issue comes, right? If I keep the lights on here and you guys have $500 million to spend on other places for other acquisitions, right? How can I expect you guys to make the necessary changes within my contract for me to get the accurate amount of money that I need? Because even if I'm keeping the lights on, well, you guys got $500 million to spend on competitors. All my competitors at the end of the day, the people that will possibly dethrone me are the people that are on the same label as me, and they cannot beat me. If they cannot beat me at this point, and you guys put out $500 million, and you're saying, hey, my work is keeping the lights on here, I need the money that you guys are spending. If my work keeps the lights on here, well, what is the extra money that you guys have left over after expenses are paid? What's the cash flow? What's your cash flow? Like, what do y'all have sitting around that I can use? Because we deserve more than that. And no one, like you said, no one's going to give you that. No one's going to say, oh, you generated $1 billion for us.
It's like that in all facets of entertainment, right? Even going over to sports. That's why every year there's always talk about money when it comes to sports because look at all them franchise owners, a lot of them, if they did play sports, it was just on the playground on school. They never went to a professional level. But they're extremely business savvy and that's why they own franchises, right? But they're never going to pay their athletes nowhere near than what they make, even though the athletes is what's putting the people in the stadiums, buying all the merch out, buying everything out and shit like that. I feel like that it's always going to be a problem for entertainers in the entertainment realm to always ask for more money or get more money. And the only way about it is for you to go into business for yourself. Like, for example, like real quick, like The Rock, right? The Rock has his own production company. That's why The Rock is the highest paid Hollywood actor like 2 years in a row because he works hard and everything that you see him doing is through his own company. Yeah, he'll have a
Right.
deal with Netflix or a deal with like Disney or whatever company, but it's more like a partnership versus them signing him on board to do something for them. Let's say he works for Disney and hey, you got to do X amount of movies or something like that. He's not going to be the highest paid actor that he is. He's the highest paid actor because he's doing everything through his shit.
Himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
himself.
And I totally agree with you on that because like you can look at other like The Rock or Kevin Hart or even Will Smith where they've all the empowerments that they have within their career is the fact that hey, I own this Heartbeat Productions. I forget Will's. I forget what the name of his is. It's like something that
Will
you wouldn't
Smith?
even. Yeah, Will Smith's production company. And I think when you look at even like you were saying, like the NBA players, right? The NBA, for example, essentially, you see how like the owners they may not have the physical skills, but they have the business savvy and the business acumen to know how to create deals and so on and so forth. But what's actually interesting about that is I think players now are starting to become more empowered because even there was an article I was reading, I think it was in the Times, where they were saying how because they were speaking on the boycott and they were saying how the boycott with the players is actually it shows how it's the NBA is becoming more of a co-op instead of it being like a worker and a boss employee relationship more of. And you're seeing now how like the NBA players, for instance, like with this whole Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse thing, where the players actually protested. Well, before I get into the whole protesting, like what spurred this protest that happened earlier in the week was the shooting of Jacob Blake, where he was shot, I believe, 7 times in Wisconsin, right?
7 times in the back in Kenosha.
Kenosha, yeah, he was, yeah, Kenosha. He was shot 7 times in the back in Kenosha, and like I think you seen people that had something to say about it, unfortunately, and even like you had people that I didn't see much about people saying anything about the incident in particular, but I think you saw a lot of protests. Well, you saw a lot of backlash towards the NBA protesters and the athletes from the WNBA, MLB, and NBA, where they got backlash from other sports and athletes and even entertainers because of the protests, being that this whole Jacob Blake thing and the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, because if people that aren't aware, the Jacob Blake thing was he got shot by the police, and unfortunately, luckily he survived, I believe, right? And he's like, I think he's paralyzed now, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's paralyzed, I believe, from the waist down. And
Jesus.
there's a lot of controversy about the whole thing. Kind of like, of course, you're always going to have opposition and detractors. But from what I read, apparently there was already a warrant out for his arrest, and the police arrived. I forgot why the police arrived, but there was already a warrant out his arrest. And as he was going to his vehicle, the one of the officers, shot him 7 times. Now, let's stop right there, right? Here's my opinion on that whole thing. Whether the guy was a bad person or not, right? If you have more than one police officer at the scene, and it's not like it was a separation of distance between him and the police officers, and he had like a Glock 40 or like a Draco, and he was letting it go. They were like literally behind him, and I feel like there was other ways of detaining him and stopping him instead of letting off 7 in his back, right?
Right.
And I feel like there's going to be parties saying like, well, you don't know because you're not a police officer. You don't know that if you reach in a car, your instinct may be to shoot, or that's what you're taught to do with a blah, 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 blah. And I get that. I don't know. I'm not a police officer, and I'm not aspiring to be a police officer. But I think that 7 times in somebody back, to me, it's not out of fear at all. I feel like it's kind of like, okay, the way it's perceived is like, hey, this is a black man. I don't like black men. I'm going to shoot him. And it's throughout the whole history of police brutality, there's been multiple cases of over excessive force against people that you're supposed to be detaining or arresting, whatever the case may be. Hence George Floyd months ago. So I feel like this whole argument of like it was justified for the people that think it was justified that he got shot 7 times, I think that's wrong. It's really wrong. You know what I mean? It's this is why people are upset, and this is why the protests are happening, and this is why it did happen months ago, because of stuff like this. It was over excessive and not needed. For whatever the reason he was, I felt like the dude, he didn't come out and he didn't start shooting off rounds and all that stuff. At that point, it is what it is. He was asking for it. But there was enough time for them to stop him before he even reached to his vehicle.
Right.
There was enough time. And,
right.
and they decided to still let off 7. Let it off. And this is why people are upset about it, right? I don't know the history of Jacob Blake, right? I don't know if the guy was what he did wrong and what he did right. So I'm not trying to advocate for him for like who he is as a person or nothing like that, because I haven't read up enough on it. But what I will say is just from a human being perspective, like you're right there, right? If he did something wrong, then stop him. Don't try to kill him. You know what I mean? Don't. Go ahead.
One thing that kills me about it is exactly that. Like it's one of those things where it's like if you had all the time in the world to try and detain him, to try and stop him, to try and do anything in the world, like why did you just let him, like why did you wait until he was getting in his car to shoot him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and at that, shoot him 7 times in the back. Like, now, if you know anything about self-defense laws, like, which, I mean, I guess this also kind of like ties into this Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Like, if you shoot somebody in the back, then it's not self-defense at that point, because that person is essentially at that point not a threat because they're not facing you. Somebody runs into your house, I would say that's more or less the case. Then if they try to get out, they're running away, which means at that point they're not coming after you in I should say a malicious way. Yeah. Kyle Rittenhouse, the kid who ended up going to the protest, it's one of those things where it's like supposedly, and nobody knows the facts, so let's make that clear first and foremost. He supposedly got a gun from his mother, went to the protest, and was running.
Why is his mother giving him a gun? He's like 7.
It's one of those things. I know, it's crazy. He's 17. His mom gave him a gun to, I guess, defend himself out there. He
if you need a gun to defend yourself, go ahead. My bad.
I know. I know. I can. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Because we're gonna talk about it. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, why did you have the gun in the first place? Why are you running around shooting people like you're in GT? Like, I don't even want to say that. Like, because why?
No, he
Like you're in a
thought he was
video
in
game.
GTA.
Like,
He thought
it's
he
crazy.
thought shit was sweet. He
It's
thought
crazy.
he thought shit was sweet to the point that he knew he could walk up to the police and tell them, "Hey, it's me.
Well, no, I
Hey, it's
mean,
me. Don't shoot." Like, what
not
to me,
only
which makes go ahead.
not only did he think it, he did it, and he was like, hey, I'm here, y'all. Like, just letting y'all know I'm here with my gun. You know what I mean?
That shit don't even happen in GTA. The cops will light you up in GTA.
And this is supposedly after he killed people. So
Yeah, after he killed 2 people.
And I think the thing that's making people sick about that situation is that the fact that you had this guy with a motherfucking assault rifle, right? I don't know exactly what kind of assault rifle he had, but he had
It was an AR-15.
There you go. He had the motherfucking AR, and then the police, they didn't try to detain the motherfucker like that. The only reason why the guy got arrested or whatever, because he turned himself in. The fucking police weren't looking for him. The motherfucker turned himself in. He turned himself in. And then the initial story came out of like before people got into nitty gritty with him was, hey, they're destroying my property. They attacked me, so I retaliated out of self defense or whatever like that.
turns out dude's not even from there.
He's not even fucking from there. He
Who,
showed
the
up
Cal
there.
Rittenhouse?
Yeah,
he's not from there at all.
He's not.
No. He drove there.
Drove there. Yeah.
So that's someone with that's
intent. If you're going to a place with lethal rounds and you're ready to do some shit, like you're not
he said
defending
that
anything.
in the video. He said that in the video. He said because I went before we started recording. I wanted to double check over some of the stuff because that Kyle Rittenhouse thing. It was when you guys sent the news to me, I think I didn't understand it. And I'm at a point now where I don't want to see people getting killed online. Like I feel like I've already said that to you. Like I think the normalization of murder on video is just like wow to me, right? So like I didn't watch it at first because at first I thought this was like someone that was on the side of the protesters, and then I'm like seeing, and I remember seeing on Dunkin' Donuts being trending on, well, it was trending on Twitter for a bit, and it had something to do with the whole Dylan Roof thing, and then that's when I was able to connect the dots of like who this kid is, right? I don't even want to pronounce him by name anymore. He doesn't even deserve that, right?
Agreed.
Like
You're right.
Like this kid, he says in the video, "Oh, this is for." Oh no, they were like, "Are there non?" Someone asked on camera, "Is this non-lethal?" He said, "No, these are lethal arms to protect us."
Yeah, yep.
And it's
I've
like
seen that video too.
And now that you guys are saying, "Oh, this is something where he drove there."
Yeah,
Like to drive there, there's a certain level of intent when it's all said and done when you're doing that at the end of the day, right? So to me, I see it. There's a lot that could be said in terms of anger and upset but then also understanding like it is what it is, unfortunately, because
look at this, right? They're saying that he is defending himself because people in the crowd were coming after him, like saying, "Hey, get this guy who's running around with his gun." Like, I'm sorry, if there's somebody going around shooting people, then yeah, maybe you should try and stop this kid.
But let's rewind a little bit before he started shooting people, right? There's a midst of a protest going on because another unarmed black man got shot, right? Wherever your stance is on that. So there's a protest happening. Then you see a motherfucker with a motherfucking AR-15 in the fucking crowd. Please don't tell me that you don't think that nobody's going to be startled or worried about that. They're going to be like, well, hold the fuck up. Nobody else got guns except for police officers. Why is this motherfucker with an AR-15? So I could only imagine somebody's kind of like, yo, is this motherfucker? Like, they're probably thinking like, I need to either defend myself, get away, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is not normal.
Be very aware of this person.
Exactly. So how can you fault somebody for being like, yo, dude, what the fuck are you doing here with this fucking gun if nobody else is strapped up like that?
And on top of that, you have to remind yourself that people that are protesting are probably looking at it from that standpoint because in one of those videos, you see a lengthy line of people that are anti-protesters that are all strapped with like AR-15s and assault rifles, right? Various assault rifles. Like, unless you know already, just human nature. I think just in terms of survival instinct, you identify things and you match it in terms of pairing, right? And if I see, hey, a lengthy line of people that are anti-protesters, and I see you over there and you're dressed like the anti-protesters with a assault weapon just like the anti-protesters, and on top of it, I believe like an incident that happened. There was an incident that happened prior to like that day or whatever the case may be, or it was earlier in the day, like Nigel was saying, right? Like whenever that incident was of like the dude saying, "Hey, some people came at us, so I got people to come down here with trucks to help defend us," which makes no sense to me. I feel as though if you feel as though that is your need, you should call the police.
Yes.
Being that if you're an anti-protester and you believe to me personally, I don't think the notion of defund the police means to take all the money from the police, right? So
Yeah,
like
people have that mixed up. You're absolutely right about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, well, you're good. Like most people, I think some people when you hear defund, they think bankrupted, but it's not bankrupted. It's taking money away, right? Hey, let's use some of this money for whatever else that can actually better the community, right? You see, when you have something like that, I feel as though if you're on the opposite side of anything that's that or anything that's quote unquote police related, you should probably be calling the police. You shouldn't be getting together like this is like some gang war and you're saying, hey, I feel like I've been attacked, so let me call up the homies and we go and double back and try to get whoever's there.
But look,
right. To me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
How do you feel attacked when you had to travel there?
Well, here's the thing about that, right? Just to piggyback off what you just said, Nigel, is in a sense, he's like, look, I don't like these fucking black people. I don't like the protest shit. I'm going to take matters in my own hands. That's exactly what he did. He tried to be a hero for his own fucking cause, not realizing what he really was is being what they like to label black people, a fucking thug, a fucking criminal.
And his mom should be in jail too.
He had no fucking, that's why he's being charged now. He had no fucking business showing up to the protest and trying to take matters into his own hands. Like,
exactly.
He was 100% wrong. And it's crazy because the motherfucker got a GoFundMe and motherfuckers out there trying to, of course, you already know, racist folk trying to support the motherfucker.
I'm not sure if you saw, but like during that whole protest, like, because Brian Urlacher said something in the midst of the protest, right? From not on the streets, but with the NBA, right? And he was saying how, there's players that are there, like, oh, that's what it was. He said about Brett Favre and how Brett Favre's dad had died, and he still came out and played Monday Night Football that night and ended up having like some of the best stats he's had in a while during that game, right? And he was saying how, well, I don't understand how the NBA players can't do the same. Like, there's no reason.
He could eat a dick. He could eat a fucking dick because I'm going to tell you right now, Isaiah Thomas, his motherfucking sister died, and he came out and he played in the fucking playoffs and he balled out too. So it's not about an individual basis. It's about the fucking fact that another unarmed fucking black man got fucking killed, and it's bigger than just one fucking person. So he could eat a motherfucking dick for that. It's not an NBA thing. It's a fucking community. It's a
people thing.
Yeah, it's a people thing, exactly. Man. He could eat a dick for that one.
Exactly. Like, because to me, it didn't even pain me because I was like, yo, we can dissolve his number as far as I'm concerned. Like his number, I don't even remember what it is now. I think Ray Lewis is the greatest linebacker ever, as far as I'm concerned. Because there's also in this article I read, they also showed where he liked the picture. Where, granted, I'm not big into the whole liking stuff,
right.
But like, to me, it's a little invasive based off what people like in terms of like posts. But he liked the picture, a post that said like free Kyle Rittenhouse. So like, I will say this. I know the Bears, they came out extremely quick and said, we have nothing to do with this. We do not.
Excellent.
We don't have. Yeah, because they know exactly what it is. And they say, yo, we have nothing. His opinions are his opinions. Nothing to do with us.
Well, also. Go ahead. You're good.
And you know what also pisses me off about why the NBA is getting like shitted on about this shit? I don't like not NASCAR. The MLB, they postpone games, but you don't hear the fucking people crying about that much. The fucking WNBA, they cancel games. You don't really hear people crying about it that much. The
But that's
fucking
because
the NFL, they did it before the NBA fucking boycotted, before the Milwaukee Bucks boycotted their game. The NFL was canceling their fucking practices, right? They're canceling their fucking practices to help make a statement. But nobody was fucking complaining about that. The only reason why motherfuckers are complaining about the NBA doing it, one, because you have fucking the biggest black athlete in the fucking game today, LeBron James. And the NBA is dominated by a majority of fucking black players. And that's why they're fucking crying. Because I didn't hear this fucking outcry with MLB when they cancel their fucking games. And like it's fucking, we're gonna pick and choose when we want to complain about shit. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up. They're not harming anybody. The only people that they're harming is the franchise owners' pockets. But fuck them, because they got enough money that they could lose out on the day's pay. You know
They
what I
could
mean?
lose out on a year's pay. But
Yeah.
Dr. Umar, he said, Brian Urlacher has a black baby mom. So I mean, I guess he doesn't care about her. Hey man, I'm just I'm just telling what Dr. Umar put out there. Well, let me pull it up real quick. Hold on, wait. Dr. Umar put out a statement about Brian Urlacher. He wasn't too fond of what he had to say.
I mean, that reminds me of, well, not necessarily him, but it reminds me of this Vice documentary I saw years ago. And it was with a biracial comedian who, to me, he looked like a black man at the end of the day. Like, in terms of like his features, right? So he was doing an interview with this guy that was a white nationalist. And at the end of the whole thing, because he's like, he doesn't like anybody that's not whatever his beliefs are, right? That are KK related, right?
Right.
And what ended up happening was, at the end of it, we found out, oh, he has a child that's by an Indian woman. And he's like, oh, that was just like something that happened before. Like, I'm like, pretty long story short, he was just like whatever to it. Long story short, like he was just like, yeah, those are my old beliefs. These are my new beliefs. And I think you see like in the NBA, like you see like a lot of stuff like this now where a lot of people politics and their beliefs, we're starting to see
everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it's always blended everywhere. But I think now it's becoming more of a conversation piece because it's like, oh, because eventually when you recognize, definitely with something like race in particular, right? Because it's just right there. You can't. It's hard to hide a person's race because it's just blatantly because it's on their skin, right?
Right.
So when someone has something that devalues another race, it begins to make you look at them and then who's surrounding them. And that's when you have a situation like a Brian Urlacher where, hey, he says this, and if anybody that has a stance or understands what's going on, definitely when they're involved in the quote unquote the oppressed cultures, like when they're intertwined with someone that's from an oppressed culture, you say to yourself, how can you look at the world this way when your friends are under this strife? That would just be like saying of just having any bigotry to anything but still being friends with someone like that, or having a kid by someone like that. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
Here's my thing, right? It's one of those things where it's like when you're in a sport where I would say not even a sport, it doesn't have to be something you play. When you're part of an organization that's so mixed with people, whether it be from any creed, race, color, sex, gender, whatever the case is, like,
et cetera,
you should be able to look past yourself and say, hey, you know what I mean? Like this is bigger than me. Like maybe I should take a step back and look and see what they did with it. You see the NBA, they boycotted many games this week when the playoffs, when the stakes are the highest, they said, hey, we're not going to play. We're going to sit back and we're going to let things happen. LeBron James didn't play. Biggest basketball player in the world, on the earth right now that's living, said, hey,
biggest athlete in the world.
Biggest athlete, yeah. And he decided to not play. You know what I mean? That is a big deal. Like, I respect the NBA. I respect what they're doing. I really respect the WNBA because they've been holding shit down. Like they are not taking any of that shit. And I respect it. Strong women in the WNBA really putting their stamp on everything that's going on right now, really standing strong during all these times. Like
Facts.
they are like really the leaders, the WNBA, and how they're handling all of this. I have nothing but respect for them.
Exactly. Like same here. Like I've heard a little bit about what the WNBA has been doing because I've been mainly focused on the NBA, just because that was just what is like in the what's been in my face. Long story short, right? But even with the WNBA, like I've been keeping my eyes on them from here and there over the course of the past few months, and like they've always held like just again like the women always hold these women are holding it down, man, and you see where it's like damn, it's like. They're going to the point. I think I think they had jerseys where it was like they all had
7 shots on the back.
Yeah, 7 shots on the back. I don't know if it was them or if it was another team that had like, I think it was Brianna. No, it had Jacob. I think it had Jacob's name. They put Jacob's whole name on like all of their jerseys by putting a letter on each jersey. So like. And I believe that was the WNBA. Like they've held it down to a T, and it's like it's something that's commendable. You have to praise them for. Like, and I don't care about like. Granted, I don't really care for people like Brian Urlacher or even someone like NLE Chopper saying like, "Yo, like protesting isn't going to change anything," right? Definitely with like his. Granted, he had. I don't really care for his views. Long story short, I'll just leave it at that.
Man, I don't give a fuck about his music anyway. So he could join the Eat a Dick band too, man.
Oh, he can
the Eat a Dick band. We got Brian Urlacher and NLE Chopper.
Yeah, NLE Chopper is the lead singer because he actually
that's the title of this
artist.
episode.
And then motherfucking Brian Urlacher, the fucking drummer. Yo, like honestly though, like I agree with you, Spence. The WNBA, the women there, they deserve a lot of credit because they were first to do the whole national anthem thing where they like walked off the court and all that stuff like that. Now, I respect them. They should get some credit as well, and I'm glad that they're not being chastised like the NBA and stuff like that. And I feel like that a lot more athletes are starting to take. Across different genres of sports, they're starting to take they're starting to become more aware. Like, hey, look, we're blessed to have the platform that we have. Let's really use it and let people know, like, hey, guys, even though you watch us and we entertain you, but be aware of what's really going on and pay attention to this because the shit that's going on is not right. And I respect that that's what they're doing. Now. As always, you're going to have opposers and detractors. Oh, just play the game. You're getting paid so much money. And what I tell those people is like, eat a dick. Nobody gives a fuck about your opinion. It's just, it's really, that's what it is. People that's trying to do the right thing or trying to do good things, you're always going to have people talk shit about them. And that's how it goes. So, you just gotta tell them motherfuckers, hey, fuck you, eat a dick, dickhead.
I mean, listen. I mean, I think, granted, like everything that we've talked about on the show so far, I think it kind of goes to that from someone like Chadwick saying eat a dick to cancer, to Joe Budden saying it to the whole Spotify and Charlemagne and Gilly, to even like the NBA players and like athletes in general saying like. Hey, well, all athletes to some extent, whether they're on one side of the fence or the other, all having that notion when it comes to like just this whole issue of like, yo, like, listen, bro, I think people understand now more than ever their value, right? Like, I think the value that a lot of these people have now, whether it be artists or athletes or any form of entertainers especially, or even someone that works in a corporate or somewhere like that, or any type of job where they realize, hey, I can take my talent and I can build it for myself. Because at the end of the day, what they always say is no matter what you do, if you work somewhere, you're building someone else's dream, right? And that's all it comes down to some extent. And when it comes down, when you look at it from this standpoint of players realizing, yo, I got power in this. I don't care. Y'all might not think I have a lot of power. You might tell me, shut up and dribble. You might tell me, hey, you're not a politician. You're not an activist. You're an athlete. You can tell someone all of that. But at the end of the day, it's just like those stories you hear about play. You hear about people that came back from wars, pre-desegregation, right? You see these people come back from wars and they said, hey, I still come back here. I'm still treated like a second-class person, right? And it's because of the social climate at that time due to racism.
Here's my thing, right? Like, if you're gonna say like shut up and dribble or anything to any athlete, just make sure you have that same type of sentiment all the time for everybody, because like, you know,
They
we
pick and
all
choose, man.
we all know what happened with Drew Brees early in the year. Like, Drew Brees had a few things to say. He said, "Look, I stand up for the flag," and da 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 da. Oh man, he's so commendable. Oh yeah, I stand up for the flag too. Da 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 da. It's like, no, bitch. Like, if you're gonna say that about LeBron James, regardless of his views are opposite of yours, like, have that same type of sentiment towards Drew Brees, because at the end of the day, if you want people to shut up and dribble, shut up and throw, shut up and run, then that's what they're going to do no matter what. Even if you like what they're saying, shut up and dribble. But it's like, no, we don't want our athletes to do that unless we don't agree with them, unless they just have some type of viewpoint that we find to be irrelevant, even though it's for the rights of everybody.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of that has to just do with people being forced now to. We're in a space now where you have to see things for what it is. And I think a lot of people, because of whatever their belief systems are, their social norms, and the way they've lived their lives, and this isn't just necessarily a one race in particular or a group of people in particular, but I think and you see it in the workplace, when change has to be implemented and we have to resurface things that have been the hurdles or the uphill battles that we have to face, whether it's a company, look at society as a company, right? If there's hurdles that we need to still face as a company, we're going to face those things, but we're going to have to face, in order to face those things, there's going to be people that don't like it. There's going to be people that are upset. There's going to be people that wish that we could have did more X, Y, and Z. So I think, and the same breath, I think you have a lot of people that they don't want to keep the same energy, because when you're dribbling a basketball, you're doing what they came to see you do, versus when you're deciding to stand up and say, hey, I don't like what's going on, or hey, I'm kneeling, or hey, I'm protesting, or hey, I'm not speaking, I'm not singing the anthem, or whatever the case may be. I think a lot of people that see stuff like that, they are uncomfortable because it forces them to address whatever the issue really is.
Well, my final thoughts is Brian Urlacher could eat a fucking dick. He could eat a dick, you know. I wholeheartedly.
This is what we should have Tiana Taylor in the back, or Tiana Trump in the back.
I mean, if you can find it real quick and just play it.
No,
like,
I'm not playing it.
I wholeheartedly disagree with what he says about that, and you know that ain't cool, dude. And just like Dr. Umar says, I guess that your black baby mom don't matter neither, nigga.
Jesus.
But
speaking of pitting people against each other.
Yeah, but with that being said, and since we're on the topic of sports, just to touch on things real quick, did you guys hear about Dana White saying he's building up a UFC hotel?
So you're gonna have to explain that to me. I don't know exactly what's going on.
So a couple of weeks ago, during like a post press conference, I think this was the Edgar Munoz post press conference. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But Dana White was saying, "Hey, I'm building a UFC hotel strictly for the fighters," and I think it's great. I think it helps the bubble environment even more, and also it probably saves the UFC a lot of money too, because he's been buying out hotels like every fucking week.
Jesus.
So yeah, that just goes to show that the UFC got some bread, but I think it's great. I think that's a great bubble environment, and I think other sports except for the NBA because they've already doing that. Other sports could do that as well. You know, they could take this and use this as example to help their environment. So this way people aren't getting fucking caught for coronavirus and shit like that.
Just think about paying for people to stay at the Marriott every fucking weekend.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like hundreds of people, man. Like
that's a lot of money. I mean, I think in the long run, I think it's what's up. I salute him for that because from a business standpoint, I think they'll probably use that down the line. I wouldn't be surprised if, trust me, I'm quite sure. Where's this hotel at, actually? Is this in Florida?
Las Vegas.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's going to be in Las Vegas. Because since all the,
man, listen,
all the fights are happening there.
Listen, I'm going to tell you like this. If Dana's smart, that hotel that he builds is going to be a huge hotel that can accompany most of those fighters, that the fighters and fight fans.
Yeah.
Because more than likely, when all this is over with, that hotel is still going to stand.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to use, if it's in Vegas, he's going to use that for fans or possibly for fighters or something like that. He's going to find a way where that generates tons of money down the line. And in the long term, definitely when you look at how much they're spending now and versus how much they're spending and the amount of money that can generate down the line, hopefully that works out for them. But I will say, outside of just the business standpoint of it, the hotel makes a lot of sense also to protect the fighters, like you were saying. Protect the fighters and also not have to worry about, hey, who's actually getting contaminated by this disease, right? Because like you look at someone like Ion Cutabella or something like that. I think that's his name. He his fight got pulled last night, I believe, because he had tested positive twice.
Yep.
Now, had that environment. Now, the question to me when I saw that, when I got that update, I was like, the only thing that can affect it is the environment at the end of the day. And if you got it once and you came back and got it again, it's the environment that you're going into. So I think building that hotel, it'd actually minimize the amount of interaction people have to deal with, for one.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Dana White and the UFC for doing that, because that's a huge move financially for them. And I hope someone brings a French press so they can they take a note from what you call them. So
Hold up, y'all. I have no idea what's going on.
Yo, make sure you
where's
bring
the
your
dope?
stick.
Where's the dope? Where's the dope? Where's the dope? Where's the dope?
Yeah, where the dope at? Where the dope at?
Listeners, y'all for the first time ever, we got a visitor while we're recording.
Next up, boom! I'm like, oh shit!
Get on the ground.
Hi, how are you?
Can we cut your grass? We cut grass. Would you like the grass cut?
I'm all right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Damn, he can't support the black-owned business.
Yeah, come on,
I
Najee.
cut my own grass. Like it's an older woman.
Yeah.
Like she should be outside. She should be out enjoying her Sunday somewhere.
Yeah, she trying to get money.
I respect it. I respect her hustle, but I can cut my own grass. I don't, thank you, but no, thank you. I'm all right.
Umar would be upset with you, I'm sure.
Hey, shouts out to Dr. Umar, man. He's up in Wilmington smoking a game somewhere.
Black. Yeah, the 99, 2 for 99 blacks or games. Oh, speaking of shouting out, shout out to the Griselda camp, because I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but they lost DJ Shea, I believe. That was like someone that was very prominent in their camp. So
R.I.P.
Yeah, man, it's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. RP. Best wishes out to them. Shout outs to them, because I did see where it pushed Westside. Westside was pushing his album back, which is crazy to think he's got another project to finish this year off. His debut album. Like, apparently these have all been like just projects up until this point, but this is supposed to be his debut album. He's pushed that back, and I don't really know what's happening with just with that whole Griselda camp, but I don't know what's happening. But I saw a video recently of Conway getting arrested and leaving a funeral, apparently. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but definitely hold his head on that one. So
yeah, definitely unfortunate to hear that. You know what I mean? Hopefully everything's all right. Also, I don't know what the difference between everybody's debut album and just normal projects are anymore at this point. It's like, who knows, man? You know what I mean? Like, it's a project. They're all projects at the end of the day to me, because it's like, you hear like Look, man, like I saw an album earlier today that was 7 tracks long and like 20 minutes long. I'm like, that isn't that an EP? It's an album. They
Yeah.
call it an album. So I mean,
Cause
whatever.
it's tricks now, man. These people be tricking like they be not tricking all, but they be tricking the consumer. Cause I think that's a thing with the labels, man. Cause like you see someone like Lil Wayne especially, like I don't know if y'all saw on the timeline, but there was like a huge reception by people that his shit was getting put on.
No ceilings.
Yeah, no ceilings was getting put on Apple Music, like, and people were coveting it like it was an album, though it's a mixtape. Like, I think artists today they just call it whatever.
Yeah, I honestly, I seen that, and I was like, oh, cool. It's like a little homage to back in high school days, but that wasn't the real No Ceilings project he put on there. It's like half of it is fucking gone.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
starting
because I think
sampling things.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
I'm starting sampling rights and whatnot.
Probably, yeah.
yeah. Actually, that was a question I wanted to ask y'all.
What's up?
So like with like the no ceilings thing, right, on Apple Music, there's like I think like Lyle said that all the tracks are on there. I think it's like 7 tracks not on there, probably due to sampling issues or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Like, do you feel as though like these mixtapes that are like coveted pieces throughout from our childhood should they get put on Apple Music even though they won't be the full thing, or should they? Because like granted, you still have platforms like Live Mixtapes and that Piff, like
Well, yeah. I'll say yes or no, right? Because the majority of music I listen to is through Apple Music now, right? It's kind of crazy that I live in a time now where all my music comes through a subscription service. But I think that's just how the game is now, right? Majority of people listen to the music. They listen it through Spotify, Apple Music. God, I mean, like, God help you if you listen to Google Play or whatever like that. But
Yeah.
hey, listen,
but-
man, I listen. We like all DSPs if you're paying us.
Well,
Exactly.
Google Play is going away. It's
Yep.
getting
YouTube
it's getting-
Oh
Music.
shit!
Yep.
Going
Fuck
into
all
YouTube
that.
Music.
Well, look. Also, apparently, Aaliyah's supposedly her discography is being put out to listen to, so you can listen to More Than a Woman, One in a Million,
Really?
Rocky Boat. Yes, and I will be listening to that shit if it's on there.
And I think it's
Yeah,
good
that, see, yo, you walk into Naja, listening to 4-page letter. It's funny.
Hey, man, look. Aaliyah puts out some good music, man. I'm not gonna not listen to her shit. You're crazy if you think I'm not.
She did. I give you that.
I think that like it's good for artists to put like their old projects and their old discography on these streaming platforms, because I feel like it's going to help the artists generate more income, whatever. But for us people that have streaming platforms to listen to our music, it's a good, like, cool. We don't got to figure out a way to download this and put it on iTunes or get it on our phone somewhere. We could just go ahead and fucking, go ahead to Apple Music or Spotify, whatever, look it up and just listen to it. So to me, I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, it does suck that because of licensing issues or sampling issues that we can't get the whole shebang.
Right.
But something is better than nothing with sometimes.
Yeah, true. True. I'll leave it. My opinion to just be this: that I agree. It is beneficial for us that we can listen to everything on just one streaming platform. But I think the biggest downside is like that nostalgia gets taken away because of the sampling issues and clearance issues. So we don't get to have granted, I wasn't a huge No Ceilings fan, but I remember what it did. I remember what it did when it came out. It
Exactly.
broke the internet was broken.
Super impact.
So I don't know what has more impact, that or Christian Orange Juice, because
You talking?
I think-
we could have another podcast about that, like a whole one.
My pity cushion OJ, because it made a guy's fucking career.
yeah, but well, how about we save that for another conversation, man?
Yeah, let's
right.
get off of here for now. Y'all got any final words for the listeners? Anything like that?
Yes. Go ahead, Spence. My bad.
Well, I was going to say,
Alrighty, shit.
Yeah, he was ready to get this over with.
Yes. It's like, damn, all right, relax. Like you won't talk to the listeners. Like
it's like, yo, any opinions? Yes, Black Lives Matter, and you've been highly advised.
Eat a dick, Brian.
But yeah, my only opinions, the only thing I want to share with people is that Big Sean's dropping a new album pretty soon. And if you guys don't know, I think Monday night is Monica versus Brandy. So I will be checking in for some of that, just for some nostalgia. Other than that, though, man, life's good. I can't complain too much. I'll probably actually go back and listen to some of the comedic speeches from the week, if you guys know what I'm referring to. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm just chilling out. And that's it. So, you guys got anything else to say?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
But for real though, like tomorrow is the start of the new school semester, so my classes start this week, and so I'll be pretty busy doing school once again.
I'm still doing classes.
Yeah, bro. You know, I'm getting close to that bachelor's, bro. So the grind is almost finished. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to tell you like this. You're going to love it because now that I'm done, I don't even know the classes started. That's why when you say, yeah, we got classes, I was like, damn, y'all still doing classes? Man, it's one of the best feelings ever. I kid you not. If anybody that's listening to this is going to school or going for any type of post-education, trade school, whatever, certifications, whatever, trust me, once you complete the shit, it feels 1,000 times better. Like, it's just a burden lifted off your back. So finish this semester strong, start strong, and end strong. So
yeah, I can't fucking wait, man. I cannot wait. But that's what I got going on. Me and Lisa, we got some stuff going on too. So September, here we are, September 2020.
I don't really have much going on. I might have a good opportunity coming to me this week. If y'all hear this, give me your prayers and, good vibes and all that other good stuff. Like, hopefully some good things come my way. Hopefully good things come your way too, listeners. I do care about y'all as well. You know what I mean? Well, I'll say this. I was on So Clean with Kathleen this week. We spoke about a few things. So shouts out to her. If you have a chance, check out her podcast. Really cool. You know what I mean? Shouts out to her. Shouts out to Nonchalant G's. He's putting out some clothing. Big Mike. You know what I mean? Holding it down for people here. Was one of my dudes. So yeah, definitely just look out for them. They're trying to make something out of this world. You know what I mean? But I mean, other than that, I don't have much to say. Y'all.
Yeah. Anybody listening, Cypher Click dropped the album like a week ago called Things Went Left. Definitely check it out. Shout out to them. Shout out to them. The album was really good, so I definitely advise you guys to listen to that. Oh, and anybody listening to this, follow what Toni Braxton says. She wished she had more sex in her 20s and 30s. So anybody that's thinking about getting married soon or whatever, don't settle down yet. Have more sex. Have more fun.
Don't listen to that advice. It's a person-to-person thing.
It is. That's what I can agree to that. Wow, close this
Shut up. Shut up. You guys have been highly advised.
Damn. He said, fuck, wow. Jesus.
You guys don't know what y'all talking about, man. Don't listen to these men.
All right, I'm turning it off, yo.
All right.
You guys have been highly advised.